Hey, welcome to the Hell Has an Exit podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Alzate. This show is not affiliated with any specific 12-step program. If you or a loved one is struggling with an addiction, please find a local 12-step meeting. If you believe you may need detox or drug treatment of any kind, please call 833-999-1877 to speak to a specialist. The show is sponsored by United Recovery Project, a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. You can visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com. All right, hey, welcome to Hell Has an Exit. I'm your host, Bryan Alzate. On this show, we interview recovering addicts, people who had overcame adversity and have a story of redemption and hope. I'm currently in California, and I reached out to Andy. He's been putting me in touch with, people in the program that have been clean a long time, and he put me in touch with Joe. You got a nonprofit that you help kids, right?
Yes.
Born and raised in California?
Born and raised, Los Angeles. Been here my whole life.
Hold up, you've been clean 14 years, right?
March 3rd. Yeah.
March 3rd. Wow, that's dope.
March 3rd.
Yeah, we got clean. That's so crazy because we got clean the same month, same year.
Class of 08.
Yeah.
We got tired. But yeah, I mean, growing up, just your normal dysfunctional family, mom and dad had their demons they were battling. And, my dad came here illegally from El Salvador. He met my mom. They were involved in some street life, back in their days. And, they had me and they kind of slowed down, but they still held on to the addiction and drinking part. And like some things I never understood, my parents would drink like Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends they wouldn't,
Oh, they would drink Monday through Friday, but wouldn't drink on the weekends?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I almost think it was just maybe like the parenting in them, like they had to be with us, me and my brother on the weekend. I mean, I never understood it, I remember when I got older, I told my dad, like, why do you guys do it backwards? Like, when I was younger, like I would start like on Thursdays, before I got into like drugs, it was more like just drinking and, partying, but Thursdays turned into any day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we grew up in Hollywood. My dad went through a lot, in his country and his family. His dad was I never met him, but he was a very, very abusive person in every way, mentally, physically, psychologically. His parenting rolled over into my dad's parenting, and yeah, it was abuse, domestic violence. He was abusive with my mom, but they worked things out. I think like a lot of times.
And you're an only child?
So I have a brother. He's 36, 37, somewhere. My little brother. It's just me and him.
What happens in your story? Like, how'd you start using, like...
So, like, through some of the work I've done, like I've had to look back, like, where did it start, And, for me, it started, with behaviors. It started with not feeling secure and safe at home. My outlet for escaping was, lying, stealing, and I'm talking about like stealing candy from the store kind of stuff. And, just little things like that, taking money from my mom's purse to like get something from the ice cream truck, like, just little things like that, instead of asking, like I was scared to like hear no, and it's like and so that's where it started, and around 11, 12 years old, like, that's when my career started, of just like, I took my first drink, with my parent, my parents, my dad really, he would send me to the fridge to grab a beer, things like that. A lot of parents do, like, go get me a beer, and one day I was like, I wanted to taste this thing that I pop a bottle off, and, I was just curious, and I took my first sip, it was nasty. I didn't like it, but, and that's how I took my first sip, and then little by little, it's like, we once the behaviors are there, we start like, especially at that age, we start gravitating towards, other kids that are kind of on the same path, kind of the delinquents of the community, of the school or whatever scenario. Mine was school, and that's where, everybody's exposed to different things, and, they bring different things to the crew, and, we're all learning deviant behaviors at different times, and then we all kind of like come back together, like, hey, this is what I found out. Let's try this.
Yeah, you start putting your skills together.
And I remember 12 years old is the first time I went to a juvenile hall. We had a stolen car. Like, and looking back, it was like an old Toyota Corolla. It was like a beater. Like we had it for like a week. There was tagging in it. Like it
Oh,
was
yeah.
just like
You guys hot wired it? Or you had the keys?
Screwdriver.
Screwdriver, that's
You know,
it.
good old screwdriver. Like the older cars, like a lot of them, you could just pop it with a screwdriver.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was scribing on the windows, and you know, I look back like, what the hell? You know, it was like yelling, pull us over. You know, and I was the lucky one to get caught in it, and went to juvenile hall for my first time for that. Yeah, and that was about age 12, and that's where it just kind of like started. You know, I remember my dad kind of not knowing how to deal with me, in that time of my life, and he kind of like pulled back, even more, like far as just like discipline or trying to like intervene,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't know how to deal with it. And yeah, I mean, after that, I just kind of like, I just continued, just that trip to juvenile hall. I went to Silmar, my first Silmar juvenile hall out here in Los Angeles. And yeah, and then like little by little, I just kept, getting into more stuff and getting into more stuff and trying whatever was around or,
Mm-hmm.
During that time, it's crazy, generations wise. Like, I mean, 'cause nowadays, like, I had a kid in my office the other day, this kid was like 18, 19 years old. He's overdosed over 30 times, and
Wow, at 18, 19?
yeah, and I I was having this conversation and I was like, man, like when I was your age, my friends weren't dying,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like we were getting in trouble. We might have thrown up on each other, we might have got stuck on stupid,
Mm-hmm.
but we weren't dying, and I just kind of, cause I part of my job is like mentoring, and just kind of trying to plant seeds,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of leaned on that, and it's like, cause all his friends are dead, he's overdosed 30 times, and so like, that's just the generation, the different times we're in, kids in
Yeah.
high schools are, doing these drugs that kill people with overdose, and
Yeah, because, I grew up in like the opiate epidemic with Oxycontin. And I remember like reading in the paper that people were dying. And I saw news articles that like people were dying. But I didn't know a lot of people dying. You know what I mean? It was kind of like I heard that it would happen. And every time I would hear about it, I'd be like, oh, that was probably like someone who couldn't handle their shit. Or like they did like an Oxy 80 for the first time and didn't know. It was never like, I never thought like I was gonna overdose, like I just didn't think that that could happen to me. It's like so prevalent, like people are really playing Russian roulette.
especially like with the, what's out there currently the past
Mm-hmm.
couple years, it's just been, it's just crazy, the fentanyl that's flooded,
Mm-hmm.
and they have another name. They have the fentanyl, and then they have the car fentanyl,
Yeah.
which is, the street made,
Mm-hmm.
brand.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah,
And you
yes.
were saying you see a lot of meth here too, right? You see more meth in California than opiates?
As far as like client wise, like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we come across more.
Is your nonprofit mainly for youth? It's only youth or it's adults too?
My program is for youth,
Okay.
but the agency itself has many different programs and
Mm-hmm.
focuses. Yeah, they have a bunch of different programs, but our particular focus is 12 to 24-year-olds
12 to 24. Oh, that's cool.
that struggle with opiate and stimulant
Mm-hmm.
or other drug use, and we just provide like prevention, intervention, treatment, or education,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, kind of case by case, and we just kind of meet them where they're at. Sometimes they're not ready for treatment, and
Mm-hmm.
when they're not, my pitch is like, all right, let's not talk about treatment. Let's talk about like what you like doing.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about some of your goals. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to work. All right, let's look for a job. Like,
Gotcha.
even though like sometimes we know, I mean,
That they need treatment. Yeah.
yeah, or they could get a job, but they're not going to keep it unless they, get
Get out the drugs.
their addiction under control. But if that's what it takes to help get them there and
Mm-hmm.
support them, that's what we do.
Yeah, I was court mandated. I couldn't imagine going to treatment like on your own as a kid, But I mean, I guess I could have, but I don't know. I mean, I guess like it's so good that the court mandates people to go to treatment, I think they a little more, helpful with it when you're young, because when you're young, they're like, well, probably need to go to rehab. When you're older, I feel like they're like, all right, you've already should have learned your lesson now. You just need to go to jail.
Yeah.
So what happens in your story later on? How did like things, start getting worse and worse?
From 12 to 18, I was in and out of juvenile hall most of the time. I remember I turned 18 in juvenile hall, and I came home. I gave it my all. I was like, man, I'm 18. Like, I was just like I was like I wanted,
Change.
a change. I wanted, something different. I didn't want to go to, county jail. Like, just some of the stories I heard. Even though like in juvenile hall, like sometimes we kind of like glamorized it because it's like, oh, you get phone calls, or there's drugs, or there's food you could have stored, like just glamorizing like the next chapter of our jail career, and I tried real hard, to stay out, stay out of trouble, stay off of drugs, during my teens, I really wasn't into hard drugs. I mean, it was really just weed, alcohol. I wasn't really a drinker. Like I whenever I would drink, I would always throw up. Like, and that's why I was never really a drinker. But like when other stuff would come around, like I would try it if someone has some crack, or I would smoke crack, or I didn't really have like a
drug of choice yet.
Yeah, I was, I think I lasted maybe like almost a year, staying out of trouble. I was working with my dad. My dad had a tire shop. When he came here, that's the work he found. He started at a tire shop in Hollywood, and he just kind of learned the business, and he built a business, and he had a tire shop for 20 plus years. It's no longer around, but
so when you were using, were doing other types of drugs, but it wasn't really too crazy.
Oh yeah. So I lasted about like 10 months to a year, somewhere around there. And then I met her, and it's funny because like I've talked to a lot of guys. There was a female in the story
always
that introduced a drug.
And then I met a girl.
Yeah, and one of my coworkers, we set up some something after work. We had a couple females, and we hung out a few different times, but like these girls were always going to the bathroom. I didn't really pay attention, but like after so many different times hanging out, I'm like, why do you guys always go to the bathroom together? Like what? And she busted out a pipe, a meth pipe, and
they were smoking meth.
Yeah, they were smoking meth, and she said, "You want to try it?" And there I went. And after that, it was just.
So you tried crack, weren't like in love with it, but then tried meth and fell in love with it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Meth was my downfall. Yeah.
What was meth like compared to like crack?
Crack, I would just get stuck, and just tweak.
That's the best part.
Yeah, but really just kind of like stay stuck and just kind of like
walking out the door.
Slow motion kind of, and meth is, I remember I would notice my patterns, like, I would get stuck if I was around people that were stuck, or, like, but if I was like solo, like I'd be into something, or I'd be like taking something apart, or I'd be on a mission, or,
but you would go out like in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. So you could walk around and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're not too paranoid?
I noticed I would only get like stuck on windows when other people were stuck on windows.
Yeah.
It was like contagious.
Okay.
I started to like learn. I remember like I wouldn't get high with certain people because like, it's just like unconscious.
That was me. I was definitely window watching, looking at the rear view window, any window or hole or whatever. It's like they're coming.
Yeah.
I would be in a bathroom, think that they're listening to the sink or something.
Stuck.
Yeah. I'm not leaving the bathroom.
Yeah. I remember I would have moments of just like, I wouldn't leave the house because like, especially like when there was a van.
Oh yeah.
Like parked down the street, and I would just like.
I would hear a dog bark down the street and swear that there was dogs coming.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Insanity. Right. And,
so how old were you when you first tried meth?
I tried it when I was like 17, but it didn't really
take its grip.
Yeah, I just tried it. It wasn't really like ooh, like,
Mm-hmm.
where can I get more of this? It was like, okay, this is what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, right around 19 is when I started with lines, it was cool. I was doing that for like 6 months and kind of still managing.
Mm-hmm.
But once I met her and then started smoking, everything just spiraled, So from like 19 to when I got clean at
Mm-hmm.
age 26, it was just a vicious cycle, I started smoking, and at the end, like, I became everything I said I wouldn't, and I remember, it's funny how like addicts like judge other addicts,
Yeah.
like heroin addicts, like, like don't understand tweakers, and
Yeah. Oh, that shit will fuck your life up. You're like, bro,
yeah,
you're on heroin.
or
Yeah.
how like people don't understand like addicts that like stick needles in their arms, like
Mm-hmm.
like that's the lowest of the low,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a real bad addict.
Yeah.
Like I'm just smoking a pipe. I'm not that bad, and
Mm-hmm.
just the insanity. But that was me, I was just like, dang, you shoot dope. Like, oh my god, what's wrong? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I became that addict.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end of my last like 2 years of using, where
What was like a day in the life like your during your bottom? Like where
um
you living, where you working, like how you getting money to cop?
so I would have the vicious cycle of like, building my life up and then tearing it all down.
Mm-hmm.
Building it all up, tearing it all down. And then going to jail, starting all over. So it's always this vicious cycle of just starting over. Coming home to nothing again. And towards the end of my using, like, I was homeless. With a backpack. Bouncing around from here to there. Showering. I remember there was a time like I wasn't allowed in the house, and my brother would let me in when the parents were gone. I go
Mm-hmm.
shower and wash up and get something to eat, and then I go back, and yeah, just that was my bottom, with nothing, just whatever I needed to come up on to get the next one, and then towards the end, like my bottom was just like I remember this moment. This was like a few weeks before I got arrested my last time. I was in a house, and I was stuck in the bathroom with my pants down, like my arms were sore, and I was trying to like
Were
find
you shooting
somewhere.
at this point?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was looking, I was shooting at this point. This was towards the end, and I just remember I kept like poking myself, and I just couldn't hit,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like in my head, I still remember the insanity, like man, like what are you doing, But the other part is like I need to get this, But it was just, I remember that moment like yesterday, and I'm glad like I don't block that out. Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
remember, like because I know I could wind up right back there, and gladly, shortly after that, I call them my angels, disguised as L.A. County Sheriff. Arrested me on March 2nd for my last time.
Wow, it's March 2nd, 2008.
Yeah, so that was my last. I was loaded.
Mm-hmm.
So my
Have
clean
you
dates.
gone to meetings before or treatment?
So my first exposure to any kind of help
Mm-hmm.
or counseling or recovery, I was in prison, and for my second time. I've only been there twice, but when I was getting close to my release, like my mom, like when I was in jail, my dad wouldn't even communicate with me. It was just my mom, and she was like, I love you and I'll help you, but you can't come home no more. And
Yeah, it's
I
probably the best thing a parent can do, man, to be honest with you. It's crazy.
yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't see it in that moment. I didn't see it when I came home, but like looking back, like that was like I'm grateful she set that boundary,
Mm-hmm.
and as a parent, I could only imagine, just the how hard that is, because I see it like in the work I do, like especially with these youth, like I get moms, like desperate,
Mm-hmm.
and feel like they, just yeah, and there's no boundary, and these kids walk all over them,
Yeah.
no respect, and
Yeah, and you tell them to kick them out, and they're like, no, like, and I get it because it's like to them, they're like, well, at least I could watch them and like keep them alive. Where if I kick them out, they might start doing crimes that are way worse than what they're doing now. And it's like that double-edged sword. But like, I always tell parents to kick their kids out. I always think it's like the best thing to do, because it's like addicts don't get clean unless they're pushed into a corner.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you got a place to live and money, why would you stop? You know what I mean? Like, I've had stories. I remember when I was probably like 3-4 years clean, my dad called me and was like, "You got to help this family, da 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 da. The daughter's on pills." And I went over there, and dude, this girl had such an attitude. She's like, "Who the fuck are you? I don't even know who you are." And I talked to the mom, and I'm like, "Dude, your daughter's addicted to blues." So she had blues. I remember she was like, "Hey, I found this in my daughter's room. Like, what should I do?" And I looked at them. I was like, "Holy shit, those are Roxy's." I was like, I would definitely kick her out. And then she came home and she's like, "Who's this?" And I was like, "Hey, like, I'm a friend, my dad knows your mom, whatever. I'm trying to help you. I think you should go to rehab." She's like, "I'm not going to rehab." And I try to convince her to go. And I was like, "Well, if you don't go, I'm going to, suggest that your mom kicks you out." She's like, "Fuck you. You don't know shit about me." Da 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 da. The mom kicked her out, and I swear to God, 3 hours later, she called me and she said that she shit herself because she was so dope sick, and she was at the Walgreens and she's ready to go to treatment. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
But sometimes it's like that, because she was probably dope sick. She wanted money. I told the mom, don't give her any money. She fucking ran out the house, shit herself, and was like, "I'm ready to go to treatment."
Yeah.
And she went. So it's like, if you don't do that, like, dude, this person might use in your house for 10 more years.
Yeah.
It's really hard for parents to set that boundary. And that was like an easy one. Sometimes not that easy. Sometimes they leave and they don't come back. So
No, yeah, for sure.
I always tell parents to kick their kids out. If you're listening to this, like, your kid's using, kick them out of the house. Kick them out of the house. Don't give them money, and say, "Well, when you want to go to rehab, let me know."
Setting boundaries, they're hard, boundaries period in any kind of scenario, but yeah, I love you, I'll help you, but you can't come home. This was after getting the house raided different times, getting the house shot at a few different times
for owing like dealers money,
like street related stuff. And when she said that, like, I mean, I didn't like question it. I understood. And so then I heard about, I started asking around in prison, like, like, damn, where can I go? Is there, like, I had heard about halfway houses. I didn't know what they were. But so, yeah, I found out about one. I sent them a letter. This was my projected release date, and I would like to go. And I was accepted. There's a halfway house in LA on 37th and Grand. And yeah, I went there. I lasted, a few months. This program was more like a behavior modification. I remember they had panels, once or twice a week, and then they had like behavior modification groups. I remember the day I got there, and it's just everybody there is from prison. It was 4-story apartment building, so I want to say it was probably like 150 people there, something like that. Like some rooms had 4 man, some rooms had 3. Each floor had a 6-man room. So it was quite a few people there. And I remember the day I got there, one more time, like got released, and I was like, I'm focused. I'm gonna do good. As soon as I finished intake and stuff, like, some homies were like, "Hey, when you're done getting situated in your room, go up to the 4th floor. We're up there in the corner." I get situated, go up to the 4th floor. They're doing what we do. They're drinking. They got like a couple bottles of vodka.
Wow.
They're smoking weed. Out the fire escape. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, there's also other rooms that's probably not going on in, but yeah, I get it. When you're an addict, you just like end up in that room,
Yeah, and it's what we know. I mean, like, especially prison population. I mean, any population. This program wasn't. I mean, there was rules. There was, but it was just like in jail. I mean, there's rules, but there's
people
still
getting around.
People smoking weed. There's still people overdosing. Like there's still addicts. Getting high. Like it doesn't matter. Like but I came out. Just really wanting a different life. And right when I come home to that, like, here, like, welcome home. And I didn't get high that day, and I think I lasted maybe a month, before, like, one of them was like, "Hey, I'm going to the bathroom. You want to roll?" The good old fuck it. I always stay reminded, I've tried every way to like use successfully, and it's like this time I was like, all right, I smoked weed. I'm like, I'm just gonna smoke weed,
Yep.
but I can't do that, and sooner or later I'll wind up on my drug of choice and just be back to where I began,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what started. That program. I mean, like I wasn't ready. I mean, like I was ready, but I didn't have the right support. I mean, I really believe just support. And that helps. I mean, like when a person's ready. But like I remember, this program. Like I still had that mentality. Like I wouldn't go talk to the counselors because it was like they're the police. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want go bug anybody over there because it's it's just still their mentality, like they're the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
like not looking at like those
They're
people
helping
are
me.
there to help me
Mm-hmm.
and could probably help guide me in a different direction, and yeah, so that was where I was first introduced to like any kind of recovery, 12-step environment, and yeah, eventually like I had started working after I forgot what I think it was 90 days. I was able to work, but I was using, I was using weekly, my roommate would use Seroquel. Like I never heard of Seroquel, like all these
Mm-hmm.
meds, like I know today, but like I didn't like Trazodone, Seroquel. I didn't know about none of that, but like the way I would maintain, I'd stay up for like 1 or 2 days and then take Seroquel so I could sleep. And that lasted for a while, it was just a cool, like little, I would participate in group.
Mm-hmm.
They would have us like read stuff in front of like the meetings and, and I
And they weren't
was
drug testing you guys?
randomly, they would random, but I was just like, cause I was visible. I was present. I was in hiding, so it kind of threw them off
Yeah.
but one day it just kind of, I forgot what happened, but like counselors came up to their room and was like, I need you to pee just randomly,
Mm-hmm.
and I still remember it was a 3-day weekend and my job had holidays off. So like Monday, it was a Sunday. I was up in my room chilling and yeah, I couldn't pee, and I was put on restriction, so you can't go to work and da 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 da. And yeah, that night I packed my stuff up. Sunday morning, like I took what I could, told like one of my neighbors to hold my bigger bag of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'll be back in a couple of days. Like, and I always use that moment, to like when I'm working with people that leave rehab or like
Yeah.
are always in a rush to go nowhere, because like
Yeah.
I was just like I probably should have stayed. I probably
Mm-hmm.
could have got some help. I probably could have avoided a whole lot of chaos, that I got into. But you said I can't leave, and I left, and within a few months, it was just spiraled worse,
Mm-hmm.
and during this time is like around the time where like I met somebody that was using, shooting up. I even remember like once I left, like even that same night, I'm like, damn, like I ain't got nowhere to go. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't go home.
Yep.
My bridges were all burnt. I didn't have no money. I mean, I had a job, but it was part time. I mean, yeah, I found myself in a situation just like, damn, how did I get here? And I figured it out for a few months, but like within like 8 months, I was my job sent me to rehab.
Wow.
Yeah, my job. I landed a job at a nonprofit. They've been around now. They've been around over 30 years. It was founded by a priest in Boyle Heights, it's it's a nonprofit started by a priest. He started this nonprofit called Homeboy Industries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He. I remember I was on my way to a girl's house and I was walking past the office like when this guy was opening. He's an older white guy, and I saw him as I was walking. I was like, I know this guy from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't put it together, and then when I got closer, I was like, Father Greg. He's like, yeah, and I looked at the sign, and then I was like, oh, I remembered, because he used to go to do church service
Mm-hmm.
in East Lake Juvenile Hall and camps.
Wow.
He would go into juvenile halls and camps, to to do service, you know, and he would use the word and mix it in with telling stories of the work he's doing with like homies and gangs and stuff, he made it attractive, to even listen to the word,
Yeah.
when I was in jail, anything I could do to get out of my cell, I would go,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But yeah, and that's where like I had met him.
Is that where you got clean? At that Homeboy Industries?
Almost.
Okay.
So when I got hired at Homeboys when I was working, my higher power kind of like beginning to direct like a road for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just I didn't see it at that time. Homeboy Industries, they yeah, because I was bad. They knew I was bad, and they sent me to rehab, and that's where like the 12-step message was really planted. They sent me to a program that Warm Springs. It was up in Castic Lake. That was a great program. I don't know why it's closed, but
Mm-hmm.
they closed it down. Like yeah, there was a lot of BS that happened there, but like the message was planted, like they really pushed meetings. They had groups throughout the day, but they had, 2 meetings a day, like like they had a after lunch, I think it was like 1 p.m. and they had AA, NA, or CA.
Mm-hmm.
You chose in all 3 different locations, and then they had a nighttime one, same format, AA, NA, or CA, so you had options.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I actually like got attracted to a different life, because the first program, all of us were still like telling war stories and
Mm-hmm.
you know and whatnot, but being exposed to people coming up on panels and see them come up at once a month and share their stories and yeah, so like that's where the message was planted. And yeah, I got released out of there, and then I went back to Homeboys, and then I think I lasted maybe less than 6 months or so, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when I got arrested, March 2nd. In between all that, I started using needles, and I did everything. Like I sold my car, for drugs. I justified it because like I bought a gun and had money.
There you go.
Just like
Yeah.
just insanity. Just towards the end, I was just like alone. The way I was using, especially like like when I was started sticking needles in my arm, like it just kind of pushed me to a different level of addiction. I felt like it was just like a different. It was just different, like than when I was using in the beginning, and it's like we talk about in recovery, it's like we pick up where we left off, and sometimes it's worse, and mine
Mm-hmm.
went worse like quick, and I got arrested. And I went to treatment, and Homeboy Industries, let me back, and a big part of my beginning, I was able to have a 12-step program and Homeboy Industries, as my communities, support,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like when we get here, like I didn't know how to live, I didn't know how to socialize, I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to order a steak, I mean, my steak was well done, like extra done, I mean, that's not the,
Wow.
story today, like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know nothing about living, and I hung on. Like I'm real grateful. Like when I got here, I was single and no kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just able to focus on me. Like my first 4 or 5 years before had my first son, and two, Andrew. He's 10. He'll be 11 in July. It was 2011. So from '08 to 2011, like I just focused on me and recovery and getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And I was heavily involved in both communities, 12 step, and a lot of people in recovery will call me Homeboy Joe, like some people get nicknames, I used to be Big Joe, but like I lost 140 pounds
Oh, really?
recently, so
Oh, wow. So you
yeah.
gained a lot of weight when you first got clean?
Yeah, I dropped,
Wow.
I dropped the spoon, picked up the fork.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was huge.
What what was like the turning point in your recovery where you were like trying to get clean and like you really thought like, all right, I'm really gonna do this? Like what helped you?
I mean, I've always looked back, right? And so when I got arrested my last time, and once like I got to Men's Central Jail after, sleeping the drug off a little bit, and 'cause once you get a Men's Central, processing. Like a lot goes through my mind at least, you know, and I was just like, man, like I'm tired of this. You know, that processing, you know, I mean, that's the only jail I've done processing at, so I don't know. But I've heard of other, you know, jails that like, oh man, it sounds like, you know, Holiday Inn over there. Like, and I was never the one to like, God, get me out of this, or you know, I was just like, I never turned to God or religion, or you know, I kind of left like my grandma out, but like so growing up, I was like, my grandma was a Mormon, a faithful Mormon, and
wow.
and you know, and I did everywhere she went, I went with her. But when she passed on, like so did God, you know, and I was like around 13, you know, and that part just you know died, you know. But so I've never been that like, oh God, like you know, get me out of this, and but I remember being in jail, and I was like, man, so like something's got to change, like. And I remember like, you know, waiting for court, you know, and I went, I got Prop 36 court, which is a drug court. I don't even know if it's still around, but I remember a lot of people were getting released on outpatient, you know, and like I knew like you know that I wouldn't last.
You knew you needed to be in
You know,
somewhere, yeah.
and I'm real grateful. Like they sent me to a inpatient, you know, 6-month inpatient program. I was just done, you know, like I didn't have a fight, you know, I was just done, you know. I remember like getting to treatment, like I mean, I was a little uncomfortable. Like I got sent to a program, you know, it was a 40-bed facility, and I was sitting on the couch. All I seen was blacks, you know, and I was like, man, I'm at the wrong program, you know, and I still had that mentality of like just that BS mentality from jail, and there was one guy that looked like me, and he came and sat down, and he'll comfort me, you know, and I stood, and you know I completed, you know, and I just dove right in, you know. The members that were on Saturday night, there was a meeting. I would hang out with the trusted servants, you know. When I was able to go on passes, I would meet up. I would take my bus to their house, or you know, that's all I did. Like if I left anywhere with the client during the week, or when I had my passes, I was either with people from NA or my family. And yeah, you know, I just kind of like had that moment of just like, I'm done, you know, and just I tried I did my best to not put myself in like, you know, situations, and you know, because I already had the information, you know. Now it's just like I had to apply it,
Yeah.
you know, like I already knew what I needed to do, you know, and I already had all the tools, you know, and it was just like applying what I knew, you know, and in the beginning, I mean, it was a little there were, you know, a couple moments of discomfort, you know. I mean, like LA is like a big city. My opinion, like recovery could still be segregated and uncomfortable, and sometimes even racist in some areas, you know, aren't as welcoming, you know, to certain races as others, you know, or, you know, it's just what it is, you know. We live in a city where different cultures in different parts of the county, and, you know, you could go to this area and it's all black. You could go to this area, it's all white. You could go to this area. You know, early in my recovery, I'm real grateful I learned how to move around, and it helped me learn how to break through the color lines, you know, that I had created, and they were different. I didn't know how to engage with different people. You know, I just knew how to engage with like, you know, bald headed people with prison tattoos, and that told war stories, you know, and so learning how to engage with people that didn't look like me was challenging, you know, and I'm real grateful. Like when I got clean, like I just kept moving. I kept moving around, just different places. You know, they said get there and we'll get you home. You know, so I would get there.
That's cool.
I didn't have a car. That's why like sometimes newcomers like talk about like not being able to get there, or it's far, or there was no Uber when I got clean.
Yeah.
You know, so like sometimes I still have that like what's in it for me type of mentality, or how can I come up on you know the situation, you know. But I would use that like, you know, in meeting situations, like, you know, I would like, you know, connect with people that maybe lived in my direction, like, hey, can I get to the meeting? You take me home, like, you know. And I started using those type of skills, because they are skills, right? You
For
like
sure.
that we learn like in addiction, you know. And you know, I started like using those to get to meetings, to get home, you know, like to get around. You know, I didn't mind taking the bus, you know, but sometimes meetings, you know, over at 9, 10, like,
Yeah.
you know, I dove right in. just like a lot of people was uncomfortable in the beginning, like people would invite me, go eat. I wouldn't have money, or, I wouldn't know how to socialize. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
talk when I got here. I didn't know how to, I mean, I still freeze up in some scenarios where, I don't know how to, be around people. But like when I got here, it was just worse. Like I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
and then I like just the good old feeling of like, damn, like I don't want to owe these people. Like,
Yeah.
but luckily I landed around some people that didn't make me feel that way, and I kept coming, I kept coming, I kept coming, I kept coming, and it still makes sense to keep coming.
That's dope, bro. Hey, I appreciate you coming on the show. Tell me a little bit more about the nonprofit you work for.
So I work for a nonprofit, and I've also so I'm building my own nonprofit. It's called the Action Project. We're still like in development. Like I had an idea last year during the pandemic. Like I saw this meme on social media, and like during the pandemic, I was on unemployment. I was unemployed when the pandemic hit. So I was part of the extra EDD money.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that message. That it says something around like if you were like smart, or you could take some of that stimulus money and go get yourself a business license, or invest in an LLC, or
I saw the meme, or it like broke down the
yeah,
stimulus. Yeah.
and I screenshotted that, and I saved it, and I was just like, man, like I don't have no debt, my credit cards I only had one credit card at that time, and I was like, I have a savings, let's just do it. Like I just had this idea, and sometimes that's the problem. Like when I have an idea, like I get fixed on it and nothing's stopping me, like until I get it done or I do it, and I had this idea, because like I'm a resource. I help people get connected to what they need to get connected to, as far as treatment options, support, applying for medical benefits, applying for Medi-Cal. A lot of people don't even know that they're eligible for Medi-Cal, which, like a lot of people don't, you'd be surprised how many people don't know how to apply. How many people go without because they just don't know how to, navigate through things, and people always reach out to me. Like people like, no, I've been in the field for a while, just working with people, so like I'm always getting hit up like, hey, Joe, I need some help with my brother, or can you help me get my son into rehab? Or, some of the nonprofit world, it's like, there's funding out there to be used, to execute different goals, and I started doing research and looking at like some of these funding opportunities, and like right now I'm working like it's like a $800,000 grant.
Wow.
And my thoughts were like, I'm making less than $50,000, managing pretty much all the functions, the data, the networking, all the functioning parts of this grant. Like I'm doing it. I just put it on an Excel sheet and submit it.
Yeah.
So development and all those people have, but I was like, I could do this, and the Action Project was born. Our acronym for action is any change towards improving one's nature, because the idea is, we meet people in different stages, and people are ready when they're ready. I've learned just to meet people where they're at, and whatever steps or whatever support I could do, or we could do to help somebody feel appreciated, feel heard, feel supported, whatever it is. Like, we that's the idea, and like long term, I want to be able to create a community, that has an address, where, people could send somebody, that, it's welcoming. Is there's a video game. I'm just throwing out pictures like,
Yeah.
a gaming
Like pool
section,
tables, whatever.
pool tables, a meeting room, meetings going on.
Yeah, I want to do the same thing in Florida. I'm working right now trying to find a property where I could have like a real clubhouse. Because like in Florida, there used to be a couple clubhouses, and now there's really just one. And we only meet in churches now. Like it's really just churches, and like there's one clubhouse. But the church is like, you can't really go there and hang out. Like you're there for the meeting, and then you got to go,
Yeah.
And I want to try to find a space that is, same thing, where it's like pool tables, meeting halls, step workshops, food. There's not really nothing like that in Florida, except for like there's this one spot.
Yeah.
And I want to make it nice, because a lot of places where meetings are at, it's not really like nice. You know what I mean? It's like whatever,
Yeah, but that's the idea,
That's cool.
Just having like like Homeboy Industries, one of their Hope has an address, you know, and
Oh, that's cool.
and their address is 130 West Bruno Street, you know, and
that's cool.
That's the idea, you know, something like that, where it's like a community where you could go there and you could get what you need, you know, and if they don't know how to get what you need, they'll help you look for it.
That's
you know?
cool.
And yeah, you know, like we're still in development. I've realized like I have a hard time communicating, you know, my visions. Like I suck at explaining stuff. I don't know how to like teach, you know. It's kind of like one of the things I'm working on is like, cause like one of my defects is like I expect people to think how I'm thinking, and you know, I'm glad I know I'm not alone, but it's something like, you know, I'm really working on more, because it's like, all right, like if I'm building something, you're gonna be managed. Like I gotta like change a lot of my ways, you know, of thinking, and you know, because my vision, you know, is having a place, you know, people that have personal life lived experience, that have also professional experience, because I've been exposed to some communities where it's like, damn, this feels like a good place to work, where it's like a place where you don't mind like staying later, like on your own time.
It's fun.
Like where you know your boss trusts you to like go take, like, you know, take care of what you got to take care of, and you're still going to execute like your task.
Yeah.
You know, like not feeling like micromanaged and supported, you know. Like I was hearing this podcast the other day, and this guy was talking about like what does company's week look like, and every day started with like investing in staff, and nothing work related, you know, all on like self-development and team building and engaging. And I've been around nonprofit for a while, and it's like I see a lot of nonprofits, you know, they get all these funds, and they're closed at 4:30.
Yeah.
We're going to stay open like later. I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like, but we're not closing at 5. That's when a lot of people like
need the most. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of programs that just shut down, you know. So like, that's my idea of like the community, like, you know, just go, you could like, you know, workout bars, weights, like just, cool. You know, cause I've been to a few similar communities. It's just like, you know, like, especially cause I go to youth centers and, you know, speak to the youth, and there's times where I go and I'm just like, I don't want to leave, you know. It's just fun. Like, it's cool. Cause this community is support is, cause a lot of people don't have that, you know, especially like our youth. A lot of youth don't have that support at home. You know, a lot of people don't know how to parent, you know, a lot of people don't know how to, you know, balance, you know, like I struggle as a parent, you know. You know, there's times where it's like I get so caught up in what I'm doing. It's like, man, like when's the last time I sat down with my son? You know, so just being able to like focus on that, you know, it gets hard, you know, like my being a dad has helped me, has pushed me to like new levels, you know, like, you know, I have a 10-year-old that his first like 7 years of life, he lived at mom's. I mean, I was always around, like, you know, I was every other weekend, or, you know, we had our schedules, but his behavior got out of control, and he came with me, and he's been with, that was 2019.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, he's in a behavior school. He got kicked out of the school district, a lot of anger, you know, aggressive, you know, he's come a long way, you know, and it's like, he pushes me, him and his brother push me to, like, I want to say, like, since he's been with me, like these past 3 years of my life are like been like my most growth in my recovery.
That's
like,
dope.
Like new points of freedom, you know. New, like I still go. I just started going back, but there's a meeting in Hollywood. It's a Step in Tradition meeting, and I remember one night they were talking about a new level of honesty, you know. And it's like I remember like feeling that, like I was like, man, I was just abstinent. I wasn't in no work, you know. I was just clean, you know. And yeah, these past 3 years, you know, I pushed, you know, like, you know, not being able to control my frustration with him sometimes. Like I remember, you know, I almost got a DCFS case, you know, because you know, he had a bruise, and the social worker at school like saw it, and they have to make a report, you know. And I just remember like that, like looking at my behavior in the mirror, like checking myself, like, you know, it's like he's feeling what he's feeling, and then me like adding to it, you know, and just really looking at that kind of stuff, you know, because it's like I'm his teacher. And yeah, and then my other son, you know, last year he was having thoughts of hurting himself, you know, and it came up in school, and me and his mother, like, we took him to the hospital, you know. And that was another thing, you know, because I blamed myself, like, what am I doing wrong, you know? And I'm just like real grateful for my process, because it's not like what I'm doing wrong. It's like, all right, like, what can I do more of, you know? Because I co-parent with him, and, you know, I was just comfortable with just weekends, you know, and it's like, I need to do more, you know, even if it's inconvenient, you know, even if it's driving to get him from school, like way across town, like, you know, taking him all the way across, you know, I would avoid certain things because like LA traffic and the location he lives and where I live. And there's a lot of uncomfortable, you know, and it's like I had to start looking at like the inconvenient service I'm willing to do in recovery.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, like I was stuck in traffic like 3 hours just to go be of service after work, you know? And I'm like, you know, so I had to remember those moments where it's like, you got to apply that stuff with your family, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know how to switch to dad mode, but
it's all right. Hey, well, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. You know, it was really cool connecting with you, and you know, I hope everything goes well. If you ever have like issues with like the nonprofit, or you have like questions or whatever, we can link up and talk about it. So it'd be dope. But,
oh yeah, for sure.
It's
Yeah,
awesome having you on the show, man. You had a great message, great story.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated and keep in touch.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, bro.
Yeah.
This show is not affiliated with any specific 12-step program. If you or a loved one is struggling with an addiction, please find a local 12-step meeting. If you believe you may need detox or drug treatment of any kind, please call 833-999-1877 to speak to a specialist. The show is sponsored by United Recovery Project, a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. You can visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com.